Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
All right. Good afternoon. We are in the 53rd Circuit Court for the County of Sheboygan. I'm sorry. We are actually in the 89th District Court. This case is an 89th District Court case. We're conducting a hearing in the Circuit Courtroom. It's being clerked from the 89th District Courtroom that has participated by video conference technology into the hearing. So we'll call the matter in the matter of contempt of Beth Michelle Bridgman. It's filed under the case of People State of Michigan versus Flores, file 23-868SD. So Ms. Bridgman, if you want to come forward to the table.
I'm unable to do that. I don't have a license to practice law in the bar arena and in the water. I am a woman on the land, under the law of the land, and under the one true God. I'm a living soul. And
okay, I mean,
you're offered a contract with Beth Michelle Bridgman in all caps. I'm not that person. Anybody else in this room that person?
Hey, hang on.
Okay.
So Miss Bridgman, you're correct that the bar in the courtroom, people have to be licensed attorneys to cross the bar to represent other people. Of course, people can and do, as you have represented yourself on this side of the bar. So you're welcome to sit at the table there, which would perhaps be more comfortable for you. If you would prefer to proceed from where you're standing or sitting, that's fine with me as well. Do you have a preference then?
I'd like to stay right here.
Okay, that's
my
great.
honor. I think the first matter I need to address is that I have a copy of your sworn oath here, and
That's not relevant for today. So Ms. Bridgman, you filed a motion for me to recuse myself. I'm going to deny that motion. It didn't present any basis for recusal. So that motion is denied. And we're here for a contempt hearing, which you've been arraigned on for your contempt for interfering with court process and the unauthorized practice of law, and then failing to attend the hearing.
this is true.
So Ms. Miller, any opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor. I will show through the evidence that Ms. Bridgman engaged in the unauthorized practice of law that is contrary to MCL 600.916. She further prevented the defendant in the underlying case from meeting with his MIDC attorney prior to his arraignment on November 30th, 2023, and she also failed to appear for her show cause on December 20th, 2023 at 11 a.m. Thank you.
All right, do you wish any witnesses sequestered?
I don't believe so.
Okay, Ms. Bridgman, now's the time you can make your opening statement to me, but first, do you wish to have any witnesses that will be presented sequestered, meaning that they have to leave the courtroom and be instructed to not watch the
I'm not even contracted with this hearing, this administrative hearing. I cannot be adulterous to my own oath of office.
I'm going to assume that
and
you're
put
rejecting
myself
my
under an
request for
authority.
sequestration orders, and no sequestration orders entered. So go ahead with your opening statement.
Law is must be a contract. In the absence of a valid contract, there is no law, period, which might be part of the problem that we have here. Now,
I don't mean to interrupt you, and I'm not going to interrupt you often during your opening statement. I do want you to know that because of the way the video feed works, from where you're standing, it's not picking you up. And I assume that the audio is going to work through for the district courtroom that's clerking it. But
I'm content with all the people
okay.
that are here that
All right,
reside on the land that most of us call Michigan. If that's who is bringing charges against me and there is no person injured, there's no property damage, there should be no case. So my statement is that how can I put myself in your jurisdiction, except that you could do it by force and arrest me with 4 deputies with no due process and violate my unalienable rights to try to force me into your jurisdiction? because your oath of office is a violation of Section 5 United States Code 3001. You do not have an oath giver. You have yourself that signed it, and you have a notary. I just did an oath with the people here today, and they signed it, I signed it, and we got a couple of them notarized. That's how it should be. This is not a valid oath. I cannot stand in this court and be brought up because in fact, you are operating or masquerading as a lawful court, but you're in fraud of the very oath that would give your court legitimacy. I have a remedy, Your Honor. I have an oath here. And if you would like to take it in the presence of the people and sign and notarized, we can move forward. Otherwise, I would be violating my very own oath of office and an oath I just took downstairs as well to the United States of America's Constitution.
All right, does that conclude your opening remarks?
Well, it concludes the fact that I see that you're not interested or care what the people and the truth of the lawful process of the people. I don't know if anybody else cares to say that. There's no injury and there's no property damage. I do believe I withheld Mr. Gilbert from some money he was probably banking on that day. And I believe the court operates in commerce and is here to make a profit on all of their activities. So that is my violation. The state of Michigan would hated that I blocked an attorney before Seth was arraigned. You cannot be bringing me in the hallway downstairs and charging me and then tell me that you're the true judge of the 53rd Circuit Court when your oath is not properly even administered. I happen to know, I believe, did you take a bar association oath?
I'm not answering questions. Are you done with your opening statement?
I guess I don't really need to be here because this is not a legitimate court that I should be standing in. And I will not violate my own oath by submitting myself to an authority that has not done the proper oath himself.
All right, Ms. Miller, your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you would
Ms.
call.
Bridgman, you may not leave the courtroom.
I know you have people that need to know that they are violating people's unalienable rights by picking them off the street without a single piece of paperwork.
Okay, Ms. Miller, who's your first witness?
We would call
Does
David.
anybody else have a problem with this?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, hang on. There's going to be no outbursts in the courtroom or you'll have to be removed. All right, Mr. Bird, please raise your right hand. You may not leave the courtroom. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so bad?
Yes.
Oh, please.
I'd be happy to administer a
Ms.
legitimate oath.
Bridgman, hang on. So the court process works. I gave you both a chance for your opening statements.
This is not a
Hold on,
court
hold on.
I can submit to.
Hold on. The process is going to be,
I know you
Prosecutor's
like to
going
look
to-
really regal up there and
You know,
maintain a degree of authority,
Ms.
and you have
Bridgman-
guys carrying guns.
Ms. Bridgman,
I'm fully aware of that.
Ms.
Where are
Bridgman,
their
I
body
can-
cams and their vehicle
I
cams?
can put you in a jail cell. You can watch it from there.
I know that's what you're hoping to do.
So Ms. Miller is going to be given an opportunity to question the witness, and then you'll be given an opportunity to question the witnesses. That's how court procedure operates. If you interfere with that procedure, you're going to be in direct contempt of court. Ms. Miller, proceed with your question.
I would have to be.
Can you state your name for the record?
David Berg,
And can you spell your last name?
BERG.
And how are you employed?
I'm the IT director for Sheboygan County.
And in that capacity, are you able to see and access the surveillance footage in the building?
Yes, I am.
And are you able to pull portions of that video off the server?
I am.
And were you working that capacity on November 30th, 2023?
Yes.
And are you aware of security footage that was pulled from the system for that date?
Yes, I am.
Do you know what the time frame of that security footage that was pulled was?
8 to 10.
And do you know what part of the building was pulled from the system for that time frame?
I believe there were about 5 camera views, mainly downstairs in front of district court in the entryway.
Okay. And did you review this thumb drive prior to sitting here to testify today?
Yes, I did.
And does everything on this thumb drive, was that pulled from the system from November 30th?
Objection, this is all hearsay. Anything that is on that video is all hearsay.
It hasn't been offered into evidence yet, so hold on a second.
So you were able to view everything on the thumb drive?
Yes.
And was that all footage from those cameras from November 30th?
Hearsay.
Yes, it was.
It hasn't been offered into evidence yet. Hold on a second.
And
No, I know your presumptions are that if it's said in court and it's not objected, it becomes presumptive evidence.
All he said is that he reviewed it. So continue.
And did it appear to be
She is leading the
edited in
witness.
any way?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Did it appear to be edited in any way?
No, software that we have does not allow us to edit.
So it's the full capture of that
Yes,
time frame.
yes.
Okay, I'd move to admit People's Exhibit 1.
Okay, exhibit 1 has been offered for admission. Ms. Bridgman, do you have an objection?
I have an objection that anything in the hallway is going to be considered contempt of court.
Okay, it is, I'm going to presume that that's an objection as to relevance. It is relevant, objection overruled. Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you. Your Honor.
So, my honor, can we move to settle this? Because I know your main objective is to get me into jail unconstitutionally again.
Ms. Bridgman, I assure you that is not my objective today. If it is your objective, there's easy ways that you can make that happen by continuing to behave in the way that you are. But I assure you that is not my intention today. All right, so 1's in.
Thank you, Your Honor. The time frame on the video is 2 hours. I don't think the court wants to, I don't want to show the full 2-hour video. If I would be allowed to present various snippets of relevant time from the video.
Okay, go ahead. All right, so Ms. Bridgman, Ms. Miller's going to play portions of the security footage for the court. I'm not sure if you're able to see it from where you are standing. Again, I invite you, you're welcome to sit at the table where you can see the footage.
I
And for the
was there,
record-
Your Honor, and before the living God, I know what's on that video, and I have not violated or broken any laws. I have stood in the way of your commerce court, so I understand that that's a contempt of court charge because you're a for-profit court.
Okay, go ahead.
And for the record, my office did contact Ms. Bridgman to offer to give her a copy of the flash drive or have put on a flash drive for her, and she indicated that she did not want a copy.
Okay, go ahead and play. I'm not seeing anything.
Your Honor, the focus is right here.
I can't see any of that.
Okay, well, I can move the TV closer to the
Well, I
bench.
don't know if that'll, I don't know if that'll help. I mean, that's way off in the corner.
I can move to the next clip and see if the court can see anything on that. But
I mean, I see there's people down in the hall. I don't see how it would help me render a decision.
well, then I can just reserve to show the clips in
Okay.
case we need to later on. Then I have no further questions for Mr. Burke.
All right, Ms. Bridgman, do you have any questions for the witness, Steve Berg?
When's the last time you were at Salvation Army with your daughter?
Couple weeks probably.
Sorry, I missed it. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Second. Your next witness?
Thank you, Your Honor. The people would call Seth Flores. He's just in the hallway.
Now, Your Honor, before you call the next witness, I would love to be in honor in your courtroom. And I would ask that we would settle to save this young man.
We're in the middle of it here. Mr. Flores, would you please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you state your name for the record?
Seth Flores,
And can you spell your last name?
Flores.
Okay, thank you. And were you present in this building on November 30th, 2023?
Yes, I believe so.
Why did you come to the building on that day?
I had a court date for an arraignment,
Okay, do you remember what time you showed up at the court?
I think around 10, maybe.
And when you came into the building, what happened?
Walked in, Beth approached me, seemed like she wanted to help me. She told me I didn't need a lawyer. And the judge suggested that I should talk to one.
Okay, can I stop you for a minute? You said Beth approached you. Do you see Beth in the courtroom today?
Yeah.
What's she wearing?
Jacket.
I asked the court to, for the record to reflect that, Mr. Flores identified as Bridgman.
And the district court is clerking it, and they're telling me they're having a hard time hearing the witness. Mr. Flores, can you speak up and maybe use your outside voice?
Yeah.
Should I repeat the question?
No, go ahead.
Okay, and so before you walked into the building on the 30th, did you know, Beth?
No.
You just met her on that day?
Yeah.
And, when you went into the courtroom, did anyone go with you?
No.
You don't remember anyone being in the courtroom with you?
They didn't walk in with me, or
I guess I can clarify. Once you were in the building and then you went into the room where the judge is. Did anyone go
Okay,
with you
leading the
into that
witness,
building?
come on.
But that's just laying it overruled. Go ahead.
yes, I walked in the courtroom.
I thought you would have prepped them better than this page.
Ms.
And-
Bridgman, that is not a proper objection. That's an interjection. That's disorderly. Don't do that. I know you're an adult human being, so you're capable of controlling yourself. So please do so. This is a format that has to be dignified and follow proper procedures and be orderly.
Okay, you just made my case, Judge, because your oath is not properly in order.
Mr. Flores, so just to repeat, when you went into the room with the judge, did anyone go with you?
Just Beth.
Okay. And, at some point when you were in the room, do you remember if Beth said anything to the judge?
That I didn't need a lawyer.
I didn't say that in the court.
Hang on, you can't.
Leading the
interrupt-
witness.
Miss
You're
Bridgman,
putting
you
words in
can't-
his mouth.
You'll have an opportunity to ask questions, but you can't interject during.
Well, I have to object.
And then, at some point, did the judge tell you to do anything?
Speak to a lawyer.
Okay. Did you ever speak to a lawyer
Objection.
on that day?
What's your objection?
She's just leading. She's taking him through every step, which I can refute. And she's telling him, you should have done this prior, Paige. You should have had him in here earlier and prepped him.
She asked him a question, did this happen? And he said, yes, that's perfectly.
That's
proper.
leading.
That is
No,
not
she
leading.
should ask him what
Objection.
happened.
Do you recall what happened when you tried to, or when an attorney approached you in the hallway?
Beth tried speaking to him and wouldn't let him speak to me.
Do you remember who that lawyer was?
Gilbert.
And were you ever able to talk to Gilbert about your arraignment?
Only after,
What do you mean by only after?
like, I don't think I did. Maybe like a couple of days or a week after.
Okay, but not on the 30th. Did you ever
No.
talk to Mr. Gilbert?
Not on that day, no.
And did, you ever give any paperwork back to the court that morning?
Yes, I did.
Did you write anything on that paper?
Can we ask him what he did? Objection?
She is overruled.
No, she's not.
I'm not completely sure what I wrote on the ticket. Something about it's my personal vehicle, or it wasn't my personal vehicle and I wasn't driving.
Why did you write that on your ticket?
That suggested me to.
And does that mean anything to you, what you wrote on the paper?
Not necessarily.
So you said that that suggested that you write that on your ticket?
Yes.
And, what did you do with the ticket after you wrote on it?
I think I turned it into the civil court desk.
But you don't have it, a transcriber, you have to keep all the notes yourself, or is that what's going on?
So
Ms.
after,
Bridgman, that's not a proper objection. Stop misbehaving. You know how to behave.
I'm not sure I'm the only one in bad behavior, Your Honor, according to Article 2, or Article 3, Section 2 court,
Go ahead, Mr.
you might be in bad behavior.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Why don't you hand it to the bailiff? We'll have the bailiff do that.
Is that a copy of your ticket? And is that your handwriting on it?
Yes,
Is that what you turned into the court?
I believe so.
Your Honor, I guess I would ask the court to take judicial notice of the ticket. I believe it's in the court's file already on what Mr. Flores turned into the district window on November 30th.
It is or not, but I'll also take judicial notice of the court's own records. Do you have it marked as an exhibit?
I do.
Is it, what number is it?
It's exhibit 2.
2 will be admitted.
Thank you.
And that's the clerk.
And then after you gave your ticket to the window, what did you do next?
I was advised to leave.
Who advised you to leave?
That
So, at that point, did you leave?
Yeah,
At any point in that morning, did you, address the court on your ticket?
no, I did not.
And after you initially were told to meet with an attorney, did you ever go back into the courtroom?
I think about a week later.
Okay, but that day, did you ever go back?
No,
And following leaving the courtroom, what did you do after that?
just went out and got some lunch.
Okay, who did you do that with?
Uh,
Do you remember where that was?
not really sure. Libby's maybe.
Okay, and then, did,
Sorry, Mr. Flores, you're really gonna have to use your outside voice.
Okay.
and while you were at lunch, did, Ms. Bridgman ever give you any money?
No. Oh, for my phone and gas.
So did she give you any money?
Yeah,
How much money did she give you?
$60.
And what, was that $60 in cash?
Yes,
And that occurred after the same day as the court, arraignment in the morning?
I believe so.
I don't have any more questions for this witness.
All right, Ms. Bridgman, do you have any questions for Mr. Flores?
Sure,
Go ahead.
good to see you, Seth. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances. The way I recall it, you were talking to some of my friends before we talked, or we were talking and then we went out into the hallway, but.
Your Honor, I guess I'd object, that's not a question.
Sure, you'll have a chance to offer testimony under oath if you want, but you just made a statement about your recollection.
Okay.
You can ask questions of this witness.
Okay, Seth. Let's see, did I injure you in any way that day?
No,
Did I cause you to lose money in any way that day?
no,
Did you tell me about what Deputy Dukowski had been saying to you on your 2 other MIPs?
yeah, yes,
Did I suggest or had, offer some information to you that you had willingly, as a passenger in a vehicle, surrendered all of your God-given rights, and you did not need to do that?
yeah,
And that you have the right to stand up under common law and not be placed through tyrannical police measures.
Yes,
Did you tell me what Officer Dukowski said when he pulled you over? What was the reason he pulled you over that night?
he did not state a reason.
Was it something about on Butler Road in the, what I could recall?
Believe he told us, or the driver, my friend, that he crossed the center line.
I believe you had told me the white line,
Yeah,
the white line, which is not the center line. And there are no white lines out there on Butler when you turn off. How far did Deputy Dukowski follow you that night?
Your Honor, I guess I'd object to the relevance of the question.
I'll overrule it. Go ahead and answer the question.
from Subway to Butler Road. They said that we crossed the line by Subway, but I don't recall.
Okay. I recall you, and listen, I know this was a high stress environment for you, okay? And I have many friends in town who have gone through this,
Your Honor,
same thing.
I guess I object
And
again to
so-
the question.
Well, I think she's laying the groundwork for a question. Go ahead.
Because-
You have to end up at a question.
If you've gone through 3 years of COVID in the schools and complied with everything, you're very compliant. He did comply with me. I offered him liberty. You offered him, maybe Dukowski talked about taking his vehicle. Is that right? Are
Yes.
those the terms you had told me?
Yes.
Yeah. As a passenger, did you really have to surrender to all those things that you cooperated with them on?
No,
No.
not completely.
No. And so was I offering, I know that this county doesn't like common law, but it's actually still on the books. And it's a natural recourse. And there are plenty of laws that say, if nobody's hurt and nobody was injured, there is no crime. So I was suggesting that you stand up for your rights for once, because I don't even know where you guys got the alcohol.
Is this
Can you tell me
ending?
where you got the
There
alcohol?
you go. Ask questions.
Can you tell me where you got the alcohol?
Well, hold on. I'm not gonna have you ask Mr. Flores anymore about the underlying substance of his case, because he would have certain privilege rights against self-incrimination.
Okay,
So I'm not gonna have you do that.
you had just gotten off work, is that right?
No,
How long had you been off work?
probably a couple hours. I got off around 8.
And it was, what time were you picked up?
But again, I guess, I will go back and sustain the earlier objection. What happened during the traffic stop with Mr. Flores is not relevant to the question of whether you unlawfully gave him legal advice at the courthouse or interfered with his arraignments or failed to appear for the show cause.
So stay with me,
that's
Your
relevant.
Honor, because I believe there were some deals cut in order to target me.
Well, ask him that. Ask him
Okay.
if he knows of any deals.
Were
that
there
were cut
any
for
deals
whatever.
made to keep somebody that you love from harm if you testified against me?
No, we had the court date and the charges were dropped to two civil infractions. And then after the court case, I was sent a letter in the mail to be here today to testify.
So were you charged with anything after they sent you the letter? Because I remember you called me that night, or you messaged me that night and said they sent you a letter in the mail
That was
to pull you back into their jurisdiction like they did me, only they arrested me, Seth, so yes,
previous letters from the court.
that had shown up. But it worried you, it
Yeah.
worried you. I know it worried you. What did I suggest that you do? Because I don't know how parents leave kids and the first thing kids should do is text their mom and dad, get over here, I got the cops pulling me over again in the middle of the night. Now, you had told me that you were pulled over at 3 a.m. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Again, I would object about the underlying case.
Right, but again, the facts and circumstances of his, of the stop are not relevant, it's just.
I believe that we're protecting somebody here, Your Honor. I think it is pertinent. And I'm not afraid, to go down as the bad person, even though I didn't harm Seth and I didn't cause him any property damage. Is that right, Seth?
Yeah. Well, that, he did say that. I do want to ask you, Mr. Flores, you said that it was just dropped to 2 civil infractions. Was that conditioned in any way on your offering testimony in this matter?
No,
All right, go ahead and continue.
Well, I know it can be subtle, right, Seth? Would you say that when you're in authority's presence, you are probably going through some form of high anxiety?
yes, I'm nervous when I get pulled over.
Yes. And do you know that people can completely forget? I've worked with at-risk kids, taking tests and everything else, and they can completely forget what has occurred. And they're open to suggestions. And I know how to calm kids down. And was I not willing to stand with you if you were going to be pulled over? Did I not tell you if Dukowski came at you for the 4th time to get a hold of me?
Yeah, I felt more confident after that, but I'm still nervous when cops pull me over, even when I'm not in the wrong.
Is it possible because of your high anxiety around, and this, you're not alone in this, dude. I can show you a dozen people in this room at least who have high anxiety around this place and anything having to do with it. And these gentlemen, is it possible that some of your memory today is not exactly right?
Maybe not 100%.
Do you think I felt I needed to protect you and Gilbert? Because I knew what Gilbert was trying to do. He was trying to put you back in their jurisdiction. They were trying to make money off of you. And I was preventing that, right?
I felt guided almost.
You felt what?
I felt guided almost because nobody was really telling me what to do.
So there were a few details that I would say I recollect differently, but I would no more put any of my friends in the jurisdiction of his authority and this court's authority and subpoenas and bonds and everything else to testify against you.
Okay, that's not the
Because
question.
I don't
Ask your
care, Your
question.
Honor. I'm here to protect Seth
All right.
and anybody else.
Can you redirect?
Yes. Mr. Flores, do you recall when you came back to the court after that arraignment day?
Maybe a week after.
Okay, and at that point, do you recall if you resolved your underlying case with civil infractions?
Yes, we did that day.
Okay.
This wasn't a use of battery, there's use of codes.
Hang on,
And statutes.
Mr., you'll have to leave the court.
I'm out of here, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nick.
Ridiculous.
So you resolved your case of civil infractions, you said a week after?
Yes.
And then at some point, did you come for did the court issue a show of cause against you?
I can't recall.
Okay, do you remember if there was another hearing that was held after you?
Are we not just leaving
entered
and
your
then I
show
just
cause?
substantiate that he
Hang on, the
by
question, the
threat
objection
environment,
was,
people forget?
hang on, the objection was leading, that is a leading question sustained.
I think after the.
Hang on, the question, there was an objection to the question, I sustained it, so we have to wait for another question.
So did you provide testimony in your underlying case at some other time, other than today?
During the civil infractions, when I got charged.
Okay, do you remember what the date was?
I do not. I do not know the date. I think it was December, sometime December.
But you don't remember why you were testifying?
I don't recall.
And you said earlier that you felt guided while you were dealing with Miss Bridgman. Who did you feel was guiding you?
Miss Bridgman, because nobody really directed me where to go, and it was one of my first experiences here, so I didn't really know what was going on.
Do you remember if the judge ever told you where to go?
After we entered the courtroom, he advised that I should talk to a lawyer.
But at that point, did you already feel guided?
I kind of felt I didn't know who to trust.
I think this is kind of an asked and answered.
Okay. I don't have any more questions then.
All right, Mr. Flores, thank you for your testimony. You set them. Any additional witnesses, Ms. Stone?
Yes, Your Honor, the people would call Mr. Gilbert.
Oh, this is part of the bar. Click. Let's do this, Jim.
Gilbert, raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Can you state your name for the record?
James Gilbert.
And how are you employed?
Primarily, I am a public defender for Sheboygan and Prescott County.
And were you working in that capacity on November 30th, 2023?
I was the MIDC arraignment attorney that day, plus I had my own caseload.
Are you familiar with the Seth Flores?
Yes, I met him.
How are you familiar?
I knew him briefly that day. because
Isn't this all hearsay
his case got
in
called.
video? Oh, because he's a qualified bar association member?
No, he's testifying from his personal knowledge, so that
Okay.
objection is overruled. Go ahead.
Okay.
And then I later met him on a one-on-one level after his mother brought him back into the county building a few days or a week later.
Okay, so back on the 30th, did you ever meet with Mr. Flores?
Not one-on-one.
Did you ever attempt to meet with Mr. Flores?
I did.
Can you tell me about that attempt?
Oh, yes. I was in the courtroom and at some point in time, his case was called. And usually what happens is the people, as they come in, go up to our office on this floor, and we meet with them there before their arraignment to tell them what's gonna happen. I had not met with Mr. Florence. He was in the courtroom. Judge Visnaw called his case and asked if he had met with the arraignment attorney. He said no, and Judge Visnaw told him that he should meet with me. And then what happened was, there was another gentleman in the room that made some comment about, I wasn't gonna represent him, and just to tell the court that I wasn't gonna meet with them. I said, I can't do that. I need to finish up with a couple of cases, and I'd be out for hallway to meet with them. And a little bit later, I attempted to do that.
Wow.
Can you tell me about the attempt in the hallway?
Yes, I walked out into the hallway and Mr. Florence was there with the lady that's here in the courtroom. And
The woman, the living soul.
okay. But on 3 attempts, I tried to talk to Mr. Florence, and each time I was interrupted. Wasn't allowed to talk to him.
And who interrupted you?
The woman in the courtroom in the green jacket or coat.
Okay, isn't this some kind of bar association star chamber thing we got going on here? Wow.
Ms. Bridgman's testimony under oath, and you'll have a chance for cross-examination.
Okay, I just
Stop interrupting.
invalidated your oath.
You did.
What does testimony under oath mean in this county?
Ms. Bridgman, I mean, I've warned you repeatedly. I don't know if you're having some enjoyment out of that, but I really want you to participate in the courtroom fully from this. If you continue to
I know.
disrupt it, I'll have you watch it from a jail cell over video, and I'll mute you, and you can just listen. But I don't want to do that. I want you to participate fully. Will you please cooperate with me in that and let the process go forward? I mean, we got to have a hearing, so
I see what, I
a
see
star
what you
chamber
did
is something
here.
that determines guilt without a hearing. So
I'd
we're
like to
having a
see
hearing. Go
Gilbert's
ahead.
oath of
Next
office.
question.
And I got yours.
So you said you were interrupted 3 times, is that what you said?
That's correct.
Okay, at some point, or what did you do after that?
After that, I just I went back up to our office, and at that time there was like the person that's in charge of, I was a gentleman, and Mr. Keogh. I just reported what had happened, and pretty much that was it. I learned later that Mr. Florence had left the building.
Okay, and then did you, so at any point, did you assist Mr. Flores with an arraignment on that date?
I did not.
And at any point, were you able to go over the facts of his case and advise him of his rights?
I was not. I attempted on 3 times, and I don't remember the exact order. I at one point tried to explain in the hallway what my job was. The lady Here, Ms. Bridgman interrupted me at one point in time and said, no, his job is to scare the hell out of you. That was one time. She interrupted. I tried again. I was told that Mr. Florence was not going to contract with me. And I thought the two of them were together. And then there was a third time I was interrupted and I basically said, okay, I'm done.
And then, at some point later, you met with Mr. Flores,
That was a couple days later, a couple days or possibly a week.
and
I don't remember exactly.
do you recall if, there was any other hearings in his case?
I was subpoenaed, as I was today, for I believe, a show cause hearing for Mr. Florence that I had to testify at, and I believe that was in December,
Do you remember what the underlying, show cause was?
for his failure to stay for the arraignment.
And that would have been the arraignment on the 30th?
Correct.
I don't have any more questions for Mr. Gilbert.
Ms. Bridgman, any cross-exam questions for Mr. Gilbert?
Yes, so you take a kid who's anxious, gave away all of his inalienable rights, when if he gave his driver's license to Kowski, just violated the law. He was a passenger in the vehicle. And he didn't give accurate testimony, but I'm not gonna make him perjure himself. And everything you just said does not line up with people that I have here that were there. Do you want me to call witnesses, Your Honor?
Okay, you haven't asked the witness a question.
Okay.
So I'm gonna assume you don't want to ask the witness questions. Okay.
Was Seth really in the courtroom and arraigned and approached by you in the courtroom?
He was never arraigned. He was in the courtroom, and the judge advised that he needed to speak with me. And I said I had a few more matters. I'd be out in the hallway, and that's where you and him were waiting out in the hallway. That's when I
So
tried to approach Mr. Flores.
did Seth and were we aware that the judge, because was it perhaps that when Seth turned in the paperwork to the clerk of court, that she let the judge know and the judge let you know, go out there and get him, and she's talking to him and you better go get him arraigned? You better go talk to him? Because I already had him out there and done before you were ever on the scene. You took all of his inalienable rights, violated due process for the kid, and then you're trying to make him put him in your jurisdiction, and I was saving him from that because,
Do you have a question for Mr. Gilbert?
yes,
Ask it.
are you prepared to perjure yourself? Okay, it's nice that, I'm glad I
If
didn't
that's
take
not
a
a proper
360.
question, I'm gonna determine that Ms. Bridgman is elected, that she doesn't want to ask.
Okay,
Mr. Gilbert
let me
a
ask
question.
him.
She just wants to rail against him. Mr. Gilbert, you can step down.
Yeah, how do you ask questions of when you've all cooked this all up between yourselves?
Ms. Miller, your next witness.
Your Honor, I don't have any further witnesses in this matter.
Okay. And the court will take judicial notice of its own files and the transcript of the arraignment on November 30th, the transcript of the order to show cause on December 21st, and on the failure to appear. The court will take judicial notice of Ms. Bridgman's returning the order to show up, the order to appear, cut into strips with writing your offer to contract is not accepted, as well as the statements that she made at her arraignment on the bench warrant. All right, so Ms. Bridgman,
this is how you
do you have any witnesses that you wish to present?
I have to say that even being here today and putting myself and submitting myself to your authority that has not been substantiated goes against the one and living God that I respond to. You cannot ask me.
Okay, so I've given you an
Does
opportunity.
anybody want to go stand on what happened that day? But I don't want anybody to enter your jurisdiction, Your
Okay,
Honor,
so-
because,
So you're not
okay,
calling.
my honor, let's do it this way.
Hang on. So so I've offered you an opportunity to call witnesses and you've elected not to. Closing arguments, Ms. Miller.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the court find, Ms. Bridgman in contempt for, the unauthorized, for interfering with Mr. Flores' arraignment from the MIDC and engaging in unauthorized practice of law. There was testimony that, Mr. Flores didn't know Ms. Bridgman before he entered the courtroom the courthouse on the 30th, that she approached him, that she was with him, when she was with him in the courtroom. She told him that he didn't need a lawyer. She was providing legal advice to him, saying that he didn't need to, he was driving in his personal vehicle and he didn't need to engage with the process. He testified that she told him what to write on the ticket to provide to the court. I asked the court to take judicial notice of the ticket with Mr. Flores' writing on it. He testified that once he turned it in, he was advised to leave the building by Ms. Bridgman before he had his arraignment.
Wow.
So I would, and then further the testimony of Mr. Gilbert, that he was the arraignment attorney, that he was in the courtroom when the judge indicated that Mr. Flores should meet with him. He testified that Ms. Bridgman interrupted him 3 times from meeting with Mr. Flores, that he tried to but wasn't able to. He wasn't able to advise him of his rights or to go over the ticket with him, and further that Mr. Flores left without being arraigned on the matter.
Is it still possible to object to all these presumptive evidences? You brought your own people in who are on the county payroll.
It's closing argument. Go ahead. You
And I would
have your
ask-
chance.
And I would ask the court, I think it's clear that Ms. Bridgman was interfering with Mr. Flores's meeting with the arraignment attorney by physically preventing Mr. Gilbert from meeting with him, further telling him what to put on a piece of a document to submit to the court on his behalf. Would also that would also be engaging in giving him legal advice. So I find the court, I'd ask the court to find her contempt on that, and I'd also ask the court to find her contempt for failing to appear on the show cause that was issued to her on the 20th of December. Thank you.
See,
All right, thank you. Ms. Bridgman, now's your opportunity to make any closing argument that you wish. Go ahead.
I am not in this hearing situation. This has been conducted as what is called a star chamber. As all of our founding fathers left because the Bar Association members are arraigned against a witness and they have no due process. Has anybody here not witnessed a breach of public trust and due process?
Yes.
Well, people could judge for themselves. We've conducted a hearing. People can testify.
It's not a hearing, it's a witch hunt.
Hang on. No.
There was no,
Conclude your closing argument. All right. Any further outbursts? You'll have to leave or you'll be taken into custody.
So-
It's in order.
practicing law, none of you have an actual license to practice law. Did you know that, right? A bar association membership is not a license. You're not registered on LARA, the state's licensing administration. You're not registered. Your primary oath is to the Bar Association. We know about your secret commitments to one another and not to follow the unalienable rights of the people and due process.
The people's court.
This is not, you have just set up a star chamber and you've got guys with guns ready to carry out whatever you want, and you have not even taken enough care about the people and your situation in the court to execute a proper oath. You should have had somebody swear that oath to you. You can't sign your own oath and have it notarized. You did that with the prosecutor. You have to have somebody who swore you in signing it and then a notary. It takes 3 people. I should not be submitted. If somebody is practicing law without a license, it's all of you Bar Association members.
Yep.
No, there is no license. It's a private membership. And I cannot subject myself as a living soul to an authority that violates my God-given unalienable rights. And if you gentlemen carry that out, have you any idea what you're doing, what you're being asked to do? You need to think about it, because I can tell you right now, our military is watching every move you make right now. This is your opportunity to stand for the people and not for the people that are trying to steal every one of our rights as they did with Seth Flores. You should be ashamed of yourself, Deputy Dukowski. You told him on his second MIP you were gonna take his vehicle and he was gonna have to pay $12,000 to get it out of the impound. Do you know how many friends I have that can't drive a freaking car in this county up until the age of 35? I don't practice law. I practice rights. I practice people living free and supporting one another. So if your court finds me guilty, your court is finding every God-given right the universe has ever known to be a fraud. We would be happy to administer the real oath for you today, Judge Gauthier. We have a body of people. We would be happy to do that. We need a district court judge for the people to reinstate common law. The Bar Association has bought out the entire state of Michigan for the CCP. I know what that means. I know what your role in that means, and I believe redemption is for everyone. And I could be your best friend to make, I believe you know God's truth. I believe you want to do God's truth. And I believe you could be the man that we need. But we have to leave this process of the Bar Association, and you have to take an accurate oath.
I'll witness it.
I'll witness it too, Gauthier.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bridgman. And now I'll make the ruling. Article 6 of Michigan's Constitution of 1963 vests the judicial power of the state of Michigan in the Supreme Court and courts of record as established by law. It also gives the Supreme Court superintending control over all the lower courts. Michigan's Constitution also provides for the passage of public acts passed by the legislature and approved by the governor. These statutes, despite bad information that people get online, have the force of law. Michigan has a statutory system regulating the practice of law. Michigan compiled law 600.901 through 949. Section 904 vests the Supreme Court with the power over the state. Ms. Bridgman, you may not leave the courtroom.
I'm gonna talk to somebody. I'm not trying to get away, Dukowski. You won't see
Okay.
me at 3
Ms.
a.m. on
Bridgman.
Butler Road.
I'm giving my ruling here.
Okay.
Section 904 vests the Supreme Court with power over the State Bar of Michigan, which under Section 901 is a public body corporate consisting of all persons licensed to practice law in Michigan. Section 916 makes it illegal for anyone to practice law unless they're licensed to do so.
You're not
The
licensed.
Michigan Supreme Court in State Bar v. Kramer, 399 Mich. 116 in 1976, noted that this statutory scheme merely recognizes the inherent authority of the courts at common law to control the practice of law, dating back to the common law of England. When so-called sovereign citizens complain about the common law, they neglect to notice that the common law was what courts said.
Codes and
This
statutes
regulation is
are
rooted
not
in the
law.
importance of protecting the public from the danger of unskilled persons practicing law.
Oh my goodness.
What constitutes the practice of law? In Dressel v. Ameribank, the Michigan Supreme Court in 2003 held that a person engages in the practice of law when he counsels or assists another in matters that require the use of legal discretion and profound legal knowledge.
So, Your Honor, where
Now,
was
basic
that
free
in my
speech
latest
protection
charges?
Protect the right of people to espouse beliefs and to tell other people about those beliefs.
Ryan,
So Ms. Bridgman has the free speech right to believe what she wants to about courts and government and to tell other people about that. This includes, of course, criticism of government and of the courts, but to give advice, guidance, and assistance to another person in their own legal matter at the courthouse to be applied to their particular case at that time crosses the line into the practice of law. At its heart, the practice of law is applying legal knowledge to a particular issue or problem. This unauthorized practice of law is a contempt of court.
you had that written up earlier, didn't you?
Additionally, interfering with someone meeting with their attorney is a disruption of the court process and is therefore also a contempt of court.
He was not there to
The
meet
primary
his
purpose of
attorney
the
yet.
contempt power is to preserve the effectiveness and sustain the power of the court. The power to hold a party in contempt is inherent in the judiciary,
So,
yet still the legislature has recognized this and codified it. This is merely a recognition of the common law contempt power of courts. Among these statutes, Section 600, Section 1701H provides that any court of record may hold in contempt all persons for assuming to be and acting as officers, attorneys, or counselors of any court without
Oh,
authority,
good Lord.
or for other unlawful interference with or resistance to the process or proceedings in any action. So interfering with a person's consultation with an appointed attorney is directed by a judge, interferes with that process in that court case, and is a contempt of court.
But I tell you,
Let's just pretend.
There are
It doesn't even
two forms of contempt, civil and criminal. Civil contempt applies when someone refuses to obey a court order and the court coerces their compliance. So in civil contempt, the person can contempt by obeying the order. Criminal contempt
you
applies
guys
to
put
past
hands on
action
me today.
for failure to appear as a criminal contempt.
Be careful.
The court, Ms. Bridgman. You've had your, I've given you every
Aaron, you are
opportunity.
misbehaving. You had this prepared. You
I
looked it
am-
up with your witnesses. Come on
The Court
now.
of Appeals has specifically.
I was not
held
practicing
criminal
law.
contempt is-
I was practicing rights. Common law and the Constitution is about rights, not law,
So the court
not your
finds,
legal
finds
stuff.
Ms. Bridgman in contempt of court
Oh,
for
yes.
the unauthorized practice of law in giving Mr. Flores advice particular to his situation on what to write on his ticket as a lawful defense, to disobey the court's direction to consult with the MIDC attorney, which is required by law, and to leave the
By codes and
courthouse as he
statutes.
was not authorized to do so. And that resulted in harm to Mr. Flores. There was he was in jeopardy of contempt of court by leaving without finishing the arraignment process by
My
following
honor.
the bad advice of Ms. Bridgman.
I am
That
not
was a
wanting to
contempt
be
of
in
court by
contempt of court.
practicing law. It's a contempt of court for interfering with the court process. Ms. Bridgman is also in contempt of court for failing to appear for the show cause hearing when she didn't show up for it, but she instead beforehand turned in the order, cut up into little pieces with the statement, your offer to contract is not accepted.
You trespassed on my yard with
Courts have the
no,
inherent authority to
right.
compel attendance, and she is in contempt of court for doing that. So Ms. Bridgman is in contempt of court for unauthorized practice of law and for the interfering with the court process on November 30th, 2023. She's also in contempt of court for failing to appear
oh, the
for her
county, I
show
know,
cause
that's right on me. Better be careful.
on,
I know some jujitsu.
what day was that scheduled for?
Oh, I remember.
On December 20, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna pull you behind. So, my honor,
So she's in contempt of court for failing to appear on December 20th. All right, Ms. Miller, any allocution as to sentence?
Your Honor, I just, it's concerning whenever a person is not able to, participate in the judicial process in accordance with their rights. So I think that's the biggest issue, is that Mr. Flores, wasn't able to meet with MIDC, left without being arraigned. So I just asked the court to keep that
that's right.
in its, consideration when issuing a sentence.
All right, Ms. Bridgman, do you have anything you wish to say before the court pronounces sentence for the contempt?
Under common law, which is the only true law because it's based, comes from God's natural law. And the Constitution is based on that. The Constitution is not about law, it's about rights. I was not talking to Mr. Flores about any legal thing because I'm not a bar association lawyer. I don't know about all your laws. I do know that the need to have a attorney at arraignment, from what State Trooper Brenda Casperson told me, only started a year ago. That is codes and statutes. We are not bound by that. We are living beings. We are not the corporate dead entity of the court system. I did not practice law. I practiced his rights. Do you know there are plenty of other counties in this state that accept that same documentation that I filed and had Seth file? I was hoping to make him unafraid of all of these. He has good things to say about a couple of your deputies. They're not all like that. This court is for profit. So standing in the way of that attorney. But that testimony, Mr. Gilbert, you should be ashamed of yourself, was not truthful. You had never approached.
All right, Ms. Bridgman, this is your opportunity to tell me what penalty I should give you, if any.
Was anybody harmed?
Closing argument.
Was there any other financial damage to Seth Flores? I know there was to Mr. Gilbert because he lost a client that day, but then he recovered that. Good. Okay. Are we not allowed to talk to people in the courthouse, not in the courtroom? Is that not a public space? Are we not allowed to help a fellow citizen understand that he doesn't have to lose everything in his life as he's just getting started? That he can have people stand with him and encourage him and coach him through, maybe handle his drinking. I suggested that he stop drinking and he start to, pay attention, and we'll be there if he gets pulled over because he's afraid. I don't see where there has been any harm. And if you can rule that as contempt, I have no longer I see no ability to redeem anything in this courtroom. You refuse to address your oath. And if you hold me in contempt of court, I think that's quite unbelievable.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I've already
Yeah,
so had.
I do have somebody who would like to make a statement on my behalf.
No, that's not allowed. All right, so, I have
See,
filed
you're
a.
judge, jury.
Yeah, you've made all your statements. I have filed an oath proper under the laws. I filed the constitutional oath required by Article 1, Section 11 of the state constitution. All these sovereign citizen folks who get these crazy arguments online that are frankly just wrong. I encourage you, read the state constitution. You'll find that all this stuff you're getting from seminars or whatever online is just false. And Mr. Flores, to his harm, listened to it and almost got held in contempt. Ms. Bridgman has total disregard for the court's authority.
He was not harmed.
Courts are the way that citizens have recourse to the law. In societies that don't have a court system, they don't have the rule of law. You end up with the rule of the bully. And the court protects citizens from the government several times. There's important business to be had. There was important business to be had for Mr. Flores that day.
I don't think
And
the
Ms.
British.
Bridgman interfered,
Oh,
and
wow.
she totally refused to appear for court willfully. Her conduct today has been directly contumacious. And she has exhibited repeated disregard and frankly, utter contempt for not only this court, but for really any court. And so.
Under the
any
Bar
process of law.
Association, I believe so. You're not
So-
upholding anything to the Constitution, and
You know,
the state Constitution
I do
can't.
need to give a sentence that is proportionate, but also is enough to discourage Ms. Bridgman from this type of
Oh.
interference. And also to discourage other people from following down a similar path. So Ms. Bridgman, you're ordered a 30 days jail served forthwith.
Bethany, you come with me, okay?
You know, guys, you need to arrest the judge for impersonating a public official. You need to arrest the judge for impersonating a public official. Okay, are you concerned at all about what you're being asked to do?
Judge, when does it have to be started? She can serve her 30
Mr.
days
Flores,
anytime.
Mr. Flores said no harm was done to him.
You didn't say a date on when it should start. Can we talk about that?
Put me in cuffs like
Does it have to start right at this moment? Just let her go home and come back. Work with it.
What is your first name? Darren. Okay. I need you to listen to the citizens of this community and understand, no, how are we ever going to give back a constitutional sheriff? You're not following anything about our inalienable rights. No, the military has a way to deal with it. I know. Oh, thanks for coming in, Lieutenant Tebow, because I mean, I only go into jail with 4 deputies. I mean, anything less would be an insult.
Do you want somebody to take this up or you want to bring it back with you?
No, this is correct.
Who do you want to take it?
My daughter.
She follows along, right?
Let's go, let's go. Ma'am, walk. Let's go.
Speak.
Diane Kowalski. Let's go.
Lots. All right, guys. We're just gonna let this stand. A man with a fraudulent oath of office. I can't wait to look into yours, Paige.
Keep going, come on, please, thank
Yeah,
you.
I know.
Thank you.
Keep moving.
You guys need to pick the right sign.
Let's go.
Yes.
Man,
You need
come
to
on,
sign.
come on.
Oh,
Let's
we
go.
are, you are the people, we are.
Stop it, that tells me, I know what I'm.
Let's go.
Stop it.
Let's go.
You got time.
No, it could be.